Hey there, Tim friends, and welcome back to the channel. As always, it has been far too long since our last update, but here we are again. Glad to be here, glad to see you, glad you clicked into the video. It'll be great to catch up, get back on the same page, talk about what's been going on and so forth. It just feels good to be back in the chair again, If you're new here, welcome to the channel. Maybe you saw my Doshin the Giant video, maybe Perfect Days, maybe something else entirely, maybe the Japan vlogs, not really sure, but welcome in any case. And for those of you keeping score, this is the next episode of the Thoughtcast, the official, unofficial Tim Thoughts podcast, where we talk about life and things and events and the world, maybe a little bit of philosophy, ideology, life lessons mixed in there somewhere. It's a process, and we're all learning and growing together, just like the Grow Together channel in the Discord. Check it out. But really though, this is just, like usual, a kind of chill, catching up kind of video, but this time with a theme. Accomplishments. Wow. I know, right? Pretty amazing. So, we'll get to that. We'll talk all about that. But, I just want to ease into it and kind of start things off maybe with a retrospective on my latest video essay on Doshin the Giant. And we'll just kind of talk about what's been going on in my life and so on and so forth. I think you guys generally know how it goes at this point. And as always, I'll throw some timestamps down below so you can kind of skip around if I'm rambling too much about any one topic or whatever. But again, this is going to be just like a chill, laid back, talking, catching up kind of video. So grab a drink, grab a snack, grab something to eat, or, put it on in the background while you do some cleaning or crocheting or doom scrolling, hopefully not that one, but dealer's choice, whatever it is you like, go for it. And let's catch up. Whew. And welcome back. So I thought we could kind of kick things off by doing a little bit of a retrospective, a little bit of a debriefing on my latest video essay on Doshin the Giant. So first of all, I think that the story of how I even heard of the game is kind of worth mentioning. It was actually brought to my attention by our Platinum Discord member, Dog Did the Math. He was just sharing one of his favorite tracks from the game in the music channel. And I thought the song was very interesting and I'd never heard it before. And then I realized it was from a game I had never heard of before. And I looked into the game and it was this bizarre, surreal kind of Katamari-esque experimental god simulator kind of game, and I was just immediately taken by the game, and I felt like I had to play it, I had to learn more about it, I had to figure out what this whole thing was about. So I got my hands on it and I played it, and I was wowed, shocked, amazed at this strange, bizarre, but oddly ambitious game that I had just never heard of before. And it turned out it was because it was never actually published in America. And that just sort of further added fuel to the fire of wanting to express, all the thoughts and ideas and philosophies behind this game and behind Kazutoshi Iida, the creator of the game, and it really led me into this deeply introspective path, thinking about all the things I mentioned in the video, what it's like to be a god and see the world from that perspective, and to manage the egos of humanity and all of the complaints and prayers and everything that goes along with that. And I think what really ended up happening was a lot of the personal struggles and counter thoughts that have been running in my mind for the past few months or so sort of all just coalesced into that video. And I felt Iida's philosophy really enmeshed with my own, and I was able to sort of understand that game on a deeper level. At least, for me personally, I'm not trying to put words in his mouth. I'm not trying to like be the definitive answer for what he was trying to say, but it really did resonate with me on a deep level. And it was this sort of profound experience to play that game. And I finally finished the game and then was able to work on the essay. And, I was grappling with like what to say and how to write it. And like I kept editing it down and fixing and changing things. And even while I was video editing, I actually had to rewrite the ending of the essay, which I would say is not a typical process for me. Usually I don't change the essay that much once I'm in the video editing phase, but for whatever reason, this one, I just couldn't quite land it until I had more of the video already going. And then things kind of came into a clearer, focus once I was able to get some of my thoughts put together with the video backing and everything. And then simultaneously, while I was working on that, I was trying to launch the Patreon. So that was like a whole effort in and of itself. But I'll get to that in a bit. But ultimately, I think that this video was unexpectedly ambitious and ended up being one of the largest and most complicated video projects I've ever worked on. I think still probably the Makoto Shinkai video might technically be like one of the most difficult videos I worked on. But this one was no joke. And then like I came up with the whole idea of the retro bus. I'm particularly proud of that intro. I composed the music myself. I did all of the artwork for it. I drew the bus. I came up with the concept. I drew all the backgrounds. I animated everything in DaVinci Resolve and made it all move. That was all me. This is all a solo project. This whole entire channel is a solo project, and it's always a learning process, and I always feel like I want to add more and more and more and make the production value better. But there's got to be a limit to that eventually, because there's only so much I can do as one person, which again was sort of one of the overarching themes of that essay. It's one of the things that I personally am continuing to work on myself, like trying to find that line between like doing what I want and doing enough and doing the right amount. It's a whole thing, But Retrobus, really cool. I hope to keep expanding on that series and talking about more interesting different games from the past and how they influenced me and the landscape of gaming as a whole. I think in the modern time, games are being more and more respected as an art form, but in the past, certainly that was not always the case. But I do think there are excellent examples of art in the video game world, even in the distant past, even in many decades past, and I'm glad they're finally getting their due, and the Retrobus is my sort of homage to that entire idea, that entire concept of video games as art. So that's kind of my spiel about Doshin the Giant. And like I mentioned, that was sort of a coalescing of a lot of different life events and ideas and philosophies that were sort of kicking around in my mind for a long time. Because leading up to that, I hadn't published a video essay, like a genuine video essay, since I think the last Tim Explains Japan, about Christmas in Japan and KFC and all of that stuff. Since then, I've tried to do a couple different video essays. Like I tried to do that one about just like how to deal with the changing world and all of the like political strife and the ongoing suffering in the world. And that kind of turned into the video, like the conversation with a friend video, which is, this kind of format. I don't have any regrets about that video, but it just wasn't a video essay. It wasn't a fully formed, realized concept from start to finish with a, concerted effort in editing each and every part individually, like the video essays are generally. And then, I started working on the secondhand book report of The Count of Monte Cristo, and that kind of just like blew up so much because that book is super long. And, I want to still come back to that concept, but, for now it's in sort of a limbo state. I still think that's one of the greatest books that I mean, I guess I technically didn't read it, but my wife, told me all about it. I still think that's an incredible book and one of the greatest stories, especially one of the greatest revenge stories ever told. So I would like to come back to that at some point. I don't know exactly when, I can't promise anything. But excellent book. If you're looking for like an adventurous, fun, interesting, intriguing kind of book, that's a good one. Very long though, but not a hard read. And then, so, basically what I mean to say is that I've been trying to work on like a video essay for a while, and just like things just weren't really, coming together in the right, kind of meaningful way. And so when I finally started working on the Doshin the Giant essay, it felt like something concrete I could really like sink my teeth into and get going. And, a big reason why that took so long, in between like, my last vlog, which I think was Tim in Europe episode 1, and like the Doshin the Giant video, there's like a big gap, and partially it was because of those other video essays that didn't exactly pan out, and partially it was just like a lot of life stuff happening in between, now and then. And I guess the first major thing that happened, which I guess wasn't really like a big interruption in my life, but it's pretty cool. We officially hit 10,000 subscribers. Wow, right? Like I can't even, that's like incredible to me. It's like so hard to really even wrap my head around what that means. Obviously I'm still not a big YouTuber or anything like that. I know there are many, many channels with like hundreds of thousands, millions, tens of millions of subscribers. But like, for me, just making videos about whatever I want, doing whatever I want, living however I want, that's crazy to me, And I still, in my mind, am that like 100 subscriber channel. Like I still remember not even having 100 subscribers. I still remember feeling like 100 subscribers was like something far off in the distance, and 1,000 subscribers would be like impossible, let alone 10,000. I still remember being in the headspace that like 10,000 seems like an impossibly large number. So to be there now is surreal in many ways, and I'm so thankful. Thank you to everybody who watches the videos and leaves likes and comments and all the algorithm-y stuff and shares the videos with other people, and everybody who just believes in the channel. Like, thank you for watching this video, because if you're watching this video, you're probably, one of the sort of core Tim friends that really, really supports the channel. And for that, I am eternally grateful. So 10,000 subscribers, that's like an incredible, unbelievable accomplishment for the channel. But at the same time, it's like it's not like I can just like, stop. It's like we gotta keep going. It's not about trying to become the biggest channel ever. That's totally that's like the opposite of what I'm trying to do here. But I do think that as those numbers grow, it sort of signifies something, right? It signifies that like the mission of this channel, right? To create and share things that are human made. Thoughts like by me, that are influenced by all of you guys. Like everything that I learned through interacting with you guys in the comments, in the Discord, on Instagram, through email, all the different shows and movies and games you guys recommend to me, all the pieces of media, all the different conversations we share, and the little stories you share with me, like all of that stuff gets through to me. And, it all sort of intermingles and mixes around and becomes, Tim Thoughts, right? It becomes what the channel is. And for that, I cannot thank you guys enough. And I am so incredibly grateful for your help and support. And, in those darkest of days when I feel like so unsure of just about everything that I do, it kind of helps, pull me through, is knowing that you guys are out there supporting and waiting and hoping for the next video, the next content, whatever it is. So thank you guys. The next thing I wanted to mention was shortly after that, I finally ran the 5K. I'm pretty sure I've talked about that before. It got postponed. It was originally scheduled for January at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, California, but there was the major fires, which I talked about in my last talking video, and that postponed it until April. And I finally ran it, and so much training and effort went into that. And it was to the point where I was sort of already running more than a 5K on my regimented run sessions. So the run itself, I would say, wasn't, extremely difficult. It was interesting and challenging in its own way because of all this nervous, anxious energy. I had never done anything like that before. But everything worked out really well, and it was pretty cool to finish inside the Rose Bowl, on the 50-yard line. And it was really a great experience that, I'm just thankful for the fact that I was able to do it and have that kind of motivation and endurance and energy and good health to do so. I mean, I know so many people out there just don't have all of those luxuries and abilities afforded to them. And so for me to be able to do that was a great and meaningful thing. And I feel has really put me on a great track to keeping healthy and keeping, in shape and keeping heart healthy. And over time, my body is changing, my mental state is changing. Every time I run, it's this great sort of mental reset point for my central nervous system. And, I've been talking lately with a subscriber over email, and we have been sort of talking on and off about that sort of flow state you get into when you're running, which I'm sure is the same for any, sport, physical activity. I mean, lots of different workflows are like that. I get into the zone when I'm editing, when I'm writing sometimes. But when you're running, I'm sure anybody who runs can relate. It's you get into this sort of Zen meditative flow state where everything just sort of stops, all of your thoughts sort of just cease to come out, and you're just focused on the moment, just being in that moment, the step, 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 the breath, the in, out, and all the birds in the trees, the sunlight streaming through wherever you are. It's you become hyper aware of your surroundings, but at the same time it's you're not actively thinking about anything. And as still sort of a novice runner, that state is sort of elusive for me and kind of comes and goes, and I get tired and I drop out of it and I think about running and breathing and all that, but then maybe I'll pop back into it. And I think it's just this incredible, amazing experience to be able to just sort of zen out, especially when you're under this test of physical endurance, and it puts you in this headspace that's just sort of genuinely enlightening for that moment, at least. So hey, maybe if you are interested in running and want to give it a shot, I would say try it out. You never know what you'll find, and it can be an excellent way to just kind of reset your headspace and figure out what's going on and get all those endorphins and serotonin and flush out all of that anxiety and nervous energy and stuff like that. So I guess what I mean to say is running has been this incredible journey that I never really expected would take hold of me in such a strong and important way. It's become a facet of my life that I don't think I want to stop anytime soon. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to try and sign up for some more races in the future. I'm not trying to beat anyone's record or anything, but it's just for me. It's just all about doing something for myself and staying healthy and, working the body, working the mind, growth, self-improvement, but, not to specifically accomplish anything, but just to keep increasing my own abilities and my own awareness and my own sort of like coordination and communication with my body and, you know, things like that. Plus, if you are, you know, like my main demographic, which is like mid to late 20s through 30s and 40s, you know what it's like, man. You know, your metabolism slows down, you start getting weird aches and pains, your back hurts from sitting down all day. A regular exercise routine is the greatest thing I've ever done for my body. All of those little random aches and pains have pretty much all just gone away. I just feel so much more in tune with my body, my physicality. I feel so much more capable. I feel so much healthier. And, you know, on those occasions where I do indulge a bit in food or sweets or whatever, I don't feel as bad because I know that I'm going to work it off. And, you know, there's something integral to the human experience, I think, about, you know, physical exertion that really, you know, pushes us and enlivens us and allows us to live our lives to the fullest. You know, of course, if that's not something you can do due to physical limitations, you know, I am sorry. I hope that there is something you can try to do, or maybe you can take baby steps to get somewhere, you know, where you can do a little more. But if you are an otherwise healthy person and are just somewhat averse to exercising, just try and find something you enjoy. You know, even if it's just going for a stroll in the park every now and then. It really does help. I know that's like one of the most cliche things that people always tell you, you know, fix your mental health by going for a walk. And I'm not trying to make a statement as lame and banal as that, but there is something, I think, in the human brain that craves that physical activity, that regulates our ability to exist in this world. So yeah, that was my experience with the 5K, and that's kind of like where I'm at currently in my like journey with running and all of that. What happened shortly after that was I was reached out to by this publication called Shoutout LA, and they wanted to publish an interview with me. I say like interview because the way it worked was they sent me a bunch of open-ended questions and they gave me a bunch of space and time to sort of just answer them however I saw fit. But you know, it was a great experience and it gave me the opportunity to kind of like look back on everything that's happened so far in the channel, you know, this whole journey. I started this channel just a little over 5 years ago. Like, it's hard to believe it's been that long. And yet I still feel like there's so much I want to do and like so much more room to grow and more people to connect with and all of that stuff. But, you know, it really gave me a good chance to sort of put in words and like quantify not only like what is the channel, what is Tim Thoughts, what are the videos I make, but also like why do I do what I do? Why do I feel so compelled to make videos? And what is it that I'm like really trying to say, you know? So in case you didn't know that, or this is the first time you're hearing about that, I'll leave a link below if you want to check out the article. I spent a good like couple weeks writing drafts and editing and figuring out what it is I wanted to say. And I really feel like the answers to those questions really well encapsulate my thoughts thus far about my journey on the channel, what it is the channel even is, and the kinds of videos I make and why I make them. You know, of course, it's not perfect, and this is an ongoing process, and there will always be changing ideas and thoughts and feelings and stuff. But that's what that article was about. And I guess, you know, I would call that like an accomplishment because it was like somebody, you know, even though they're like a small publication, somebody reached out to me who I didn't know of, and they just sort of like genuinely wanted to hear about my experience and to sort of put a spotlight on the channel and the work that I do. And I was very humbled and I was grateful for the opportunity to look back on it all. I mean, I know that the people who read that are most likely just like my subscribers, my viewers, my friends and family. But hey, you know, it was a great experience and a great chance to just think about the journey so far and think about how far we've come and how much things have changed and yet stayed the same. And I think this is a good opportunity to kind of feed it all back in, right? Everything I just talked about, let's feed it all back into the loop, which is, the topic of this video, accomplishments, right? I guess what I really wanted to say was that, all of these things that can easily be viewed as accomplishments, right? 10K subscribers, finally running a 5K for the first time in my life, and all the training that went with it, and getting an article published about me, launching the Patreon. Like, these are all accomplishments in some sense of the word. And yet, it's sort of funny because there's this inherent dichotomy to that feeling of accomplishment. It's like you spend so much time and energy like trying to get over the finish line, trying to finish that Doshin video, trying to finish a video essay finally after months, trying to get to that 5K and then run the whole thing in a decent time, trying to, get to that X number of subscribers, trying to like feel worthy of recognition in some way, and, some kind of weird, I don't know, vanity project or whatever. And like the people around you congratulate you and they feel happy for you. And, that feeds back in, and like I feel happy about myself and my accomplishments. But at the same time, it's like that feeling is so fleeting, it just, as quickly as it comes, it just devolves, decays and leaves like this gaping sort of hole, this hollowness, this emptiness in this space that used to be full of like ambition and hope and yearning, and like, you're working so hard for this goal that it takes up this big space in your mind, in your brain, in your schedule of like, okay, if I can run, like 2 miles today, then I can run 2.5 next week, then I can run 3, and then I can run 3.5, and then boom, I'm ready for the 5K, or it's like, if I could just get this part of the essay done, then I can finally start recording, and then I can edit that down, and then I can finally work on the video editing, and it's like, then when you finally get there and you finally, cross the finish line, you release that video, you get that 10K subscriber number, you fulfill that analytical goal, suddenly it's like, now what, And I think there's just something so fundamentally human about that. It's like, as humans, we are just so insatiably greedy, It's like nothing is ever enough. What is enough, right? When is it enough? When do you have enough subscribers? When do you have enough money? When are you successful enough, There's like this concept that you just have to keep striving and keep trying and keep like wanting to do things. And, in some sense, that's a very like late stage capitalist way of thinking. But I do think there's a sort of inherent facet of that that's like built into humanity. Like, it's a base part of our philosophy as existing as humans in this world. We constantly like want more and crave more. But, it's like our advanced capabilities of thinking and ideology and foresight that allow us to understand the machinations of our own brain. I guess the thing that I'm trying to get at is that in the larger, scheme of things, in the grander sense of things, that enables us to go beyond these instinctual yearnings, I guess one easy way to put it is like this little kitschy picture that was in our Airbnb in Tokyo. There is more to life than increasing its speed. And I guess that's one of the sort of main takeaways from this whole experience is like, as much as it's great to, want new things and to always be growing and evolving and changing and improving yourself and your relationships and, the way you act and all of that stuff, all of that is great. At the same time, celebrate the victories and, take that time to reflect on who you are now and where you've been and who you were then and how far you've come. If that's something you do regularly, awesome. That's great. Keep doing it. If it's something you don't do all that often, maybe take this as an opportunity to do so, right? Like maybe once you finish this video, once you have some spare time on your hands, just go for a walk, kind of chill out and just like reflect on who you are now and how far you've come and where you've been and everything that's led to this moment. I think that's ultimately one of the things that I've taken away from this whole experience and maybe haven't really had the chance to quantify until this moment. It's all been just sort of nebulous, and I feel like these past few weeks has just been such a mad dash to the finish line. I really, really wanted to get that video out, to get the Patreon launched, to do all this stuff, and it was like go, 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 run here, run there, edit this, edit that, fix this, fix that, check off all the things on the checklist. And it's like finally like done. And now it's like, what hits immediately afterward is this sort of like fog, this like malaise where it's like, what is all of this? Now that I've finally had a chance to kind of like sit back and take it all in, I realize that accomplishments are really just rungs on a ladder. They're just steps along the way. They're tick marks on a ruler. Like, as much as you can pinpoint this one number and say, wow, you did it, congratulations, it's not any significantly different than any other number other than the fact that we give significance to it. And I'm not saying you shouldn't be proud of your accomplishments, but it's like, really what I guess I'm trying to say is that accomplishments are but markers, right? They are little places that we can point to that let us know where we are. But I think the greatest value in those accomplishments is understanding that we are still in this process as human beings, evolving and growing and changing. And these accomplishments are but ways of understanding and acknowledging that process, right? And like we can all, stop and kind of like think about where we're at and be glad for that and be glad for the journey that we're on. And like, it's easy to look at all these things in the distance or look at things other people have accomplished, right? But it's like, it's a marker of your continued sustained ability to do something, which I think really at the end of the day is what, defines us as beings of this earth. And I just want to say thank you to everybody that has contributed to this journey in so many different ways. Thank you to everybody around the world. It's like insane to say that, but there are people all over the world who have helped and supported me on this journey and the channel. And, I've spoken to so many people and made so many connections, and it's made this whole journey feel so worthwhile. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to talk about was that I finally, after like so many years of talking about it on and off, I've finally launched the Patreon. And so first of all, what I wanted to explain was like this whole deal about like the Patreon and what it is and what you can expect and so on and so forth. So one thing I did want to say right off the bat is that there is a free tier to the Patreon. You don't actually need to pay to be a member of the Patreon, but of course, paid membership unlocks certain perks that you may or may not be interested in. So that leads me into this point of like, what is the Patreon and like, what can all of us expect looking forward to that new avenue of content creation. So, you know, for a long time, I've had like a lot of like ideas and like little thoughts and maybe concepts for videos and stuff that I've like kind of wanted to post. But, you know, my YouTube is a very like curated space. My Instagram is more about like the stories and like photography and stuff. So I'm kind of starting to see the Patreon as like another avenue for content creation for the people who are just sort of like more invested in the channel, whether you contribute, you know, financially or otherwise. And right now, if you are a financial backer on the Patreon, no matter what level it is, you do get access to the first episode of Forgotten Ghibli, the first remaster of Forgotten Ghibli. And longtime subscribers probably know all about Forgotten Ghibli, but for those of you who don't know, it is a series that I worked extensively on, like actually very, very hard on. And I created these video essays about a lot of the lesser known Studio Ghibli films. And a lot of these films have like so much to say and so much to offer, and they may not be that popular in, you know, the public space, but honestly are some of my favorite movies in general. And working on those videos helped me unpack and explore the themes and ideas behind them. And the first video I published on the Patreon is the remaster of my video on Whisper of the Heart. It's this really, really gentle journey of, you know, a young artist, this girl named Shizuku, who's like a young teenager just trying to like find her way, trying to figure out what she wants to do in life and like as an artist. And there's this sort of like magical realism element to it. And it was directed by Kondo, who was actually supposed to be the successor to Miyazaki and Takahata, but he unfortunately tragically passed away shortly after that film was released. So that video is actually up right now on the Patreon for paid supporters. And I will be remastering and releasing all of my Forgotten Ghibli episodes for the time being once a month on the Patreon. And that includes Ocean Waves, Only Yesterday, Pompoko, Whisper of the Heart, and My Neighbors the Yamadas. I think that's all of them for now. I might explore that in the future too. Like maybe the paid Patreon will be a place where I can release videos that I'm a little more unsure of when it comes to potential copyright strikes. I personally feel all of those videos fall within fair use, but of course the way YouTube's copyright problems work is they're very, very much heavily in favor of the copyright holder. And me as somebody trying to dispute those, I don't really have a leg to stand on unless I want to like take them to court, which obviously I don't have the funds or time or knowledge to really pursue that. So thank you guys so much, all of the patrons who are allowing those videos to once again see the light of day. And you know, if you ever subscribe, you'll get instant access to all of those videos, even for just like the lowest tier subscription. And of course you could just like subscribe for 1 month and watch them and then just like unsubscribe. But in that same vein, what I wanted to talk about was some new content available for everyone on the paid and the free tiers. So I've been kind of kicking around the idea of like creating more content through the Patreon. Like I kind of have this idea right now, you know, all of this is like tentative, but let me know if any of it kind of like catches your interest. But one idea I've had is kind of like doing like a weekly kind of check-in, because I know sometimes my videos can be a little bit few and far between. Like maybe like I'll only do 1 or 2 a month, or maybe there'll be even like 5 to 6 weeks between. I'm really trying not to do that. Like I'm really trying to get on a more regular, roughly 2-week release schedule. So you at least get 2 videos per month. But you know, life happens sometimes, and I really want to make things worthwhile, especially for those of you who want to financially support the channel. And so one thing I've been thinking is like doing weekly releases on the Patreon that are kind of like this, kind of like the Thoughtcast, where I can just kind of like talk about what's going on in my life or what I've been working on, maybe some like behind the scenes footage, some sneak peek stuff. Like when I was working on my last video about the retro bus, I posted that intro over on the Discord, But now I can start like sharing more stuff like that on the Patreon, you know, for everybody who's interested in seeing some more behind the scenes stuff. And I'll probably like announce that stuff through the Discord, but maybe I just won't like alert everyone or something, or only alert you if it's like available on the free tier. So I'm not like just like inundating everybody with like, oh, pay money to watch this, you know, something like that. But you know, what I really want to get across though is that the main purpose of the Patreon is to support me, to support this channel, because you know, thus far I haven't really made a ton of money on YouTube. And especially like, I don't know if all of you guys are aware or not, but the Perfect Days video was copyright claimed very shortly after I uploaded it. So even though that's my highest viewed video, has like hundreds of thousands of views, I made almost nothing off of that video, which is kind of sad in some ways, but you know, at least people can still watch it, and it is still, you know, introducing the channel to a lot of people, and I've gained probably most of my subscribers through that single video. So I'm glad that it's still out there, but you know, it is a bit depressing that this video I worked so hard on and resonates with so many people, I can't even make any money off of that. So you know, that's a little bit of a bummer. But that's what the Patreon is for. That's why I've created it, so that hopefully, you know, through you guys, this channel can continue to exist and, you know, can continue to grow. Because like, honestly, long term, it's just not going to work out if I don't have any kind of like financial means of supporting the channel. We've already had, you know, some like close brushes with the end a few different times over the lifetime of this channel. So, you know, that's my kind of like idea for the Patreon. And like maybe in the future, you know, we can come up with more ideas, and I'm always looking for different feedback and ways to not only improve the channel, but also the Patreon and other offerings to entice people, to interest people, which leads me into another few ideas I have, which is prints. One of them is prints or postcards or both. So Patreon does have the ability to create a storefront where I can sell stuff. And also, like I've seen through other Patreons, people will send out postcards, monthly postcards to like the higher tier Patreon subscribers. And so if you've seen any of my vlogs, if you follow me on Instagram at all, you know that photography is a huge passion of mine. And like, I personally think a lot of my photographs are like really good. Obviously, I'm like the most biased person in the world who can say that, but it kind of does mean something, because I don't always think everything I do is good. But a lot of the photographs that I've taken and made, I love them. And I was thinking that could be a really cool perk for the higher tier Patreon members. Like, I can pick sort of like a theme of the month, or I can pick like just like my favorite few pictures from this time period, or this trip to Japan, or this place in Japan, or this kind of general feeling. And I can send out like 2 or 3 postcards to all of those higher tier Patreon members every month, you know, and you could get like, I don't know, like this on a postcard. Like, how cool would that be? And you can like collect them, you can send them to other people, or I can write messages on them, you know, little personalized notes. I'm not really sure, you know, this is an evolving process. I want to work with you guys on this. So if you have any ideas, if there's something that you think would be really cool that you would pay for, that you would like to receive in return for supporting the channel, let me know, especially if it involves like my photography, because I have a lot of those things that I would love to share with you guys, whether it's like selling them as prints, poster size, just sending them out as postcards, selling postcards. I do like the idea of you guys getting something in return for your money, even if it's like something small, just as like a token of my appreciation. Another thing was, you know, I have those few little logos like Forgotten Ghibli and the Retro Bus, and I thought it would be cool to like make stickers of those. But obviously, it doesn't make sense to send out the same stickers every month. I only have so many IPs I can actually deal with. So I thought that might be a cool like little welcome package for the new high tier subscribers. And the one thing I did want to mention about that whole idea of like sending stuff out for high tier subscribers, the deluxe Tim friends, is just that I need to, depending on what we land on, I do need to figure out the cost basis for all of those things, because obviously it doesn't really make sense for me to be doing all this stuff and then it costs more money than I receive from the backers. So, it'll be an ongoing process, like I said. But if any of that sounds interesting to you, let me know. Oh, also on the free tier, I thought it would be cool, in addition to like maybe that weekly content or whatever, to do like little polls, asking about maybe like what kind of videos I should work on next. Like maybe I'll have a few different ideas I want to pick from, and like polls through the Patreon can be a good way for more community engagement, stuff like that. So let me know if you have any ideas. Let me know if anything I said sounds interesting. Obviously, of course, there is no obligation for you to support the channel financially. I know it's tough out there, in this economy and everything, but I'm just glad that it's finally out there and there is a means to support the channel financially if that's something you have the means to do and you feel like this is something worth supporting. Like, if you feel like my videos have resonated with you on a certain level, whether it's the essays or the vlogs or just the chatting like this, gotta eat. It costs money to live, and thus far this entire venture has not exactly been very profitable. So I'm just trying to find ways to make this a more sustainable thing, and I would love to work with you guys on that whole process. So that's my whole spiel about the Patreon, and you can again find the links for that in the description below. If you cannot support the Patreon financially, I totally get that. But if you would be so kind, I would really appreciate if you join at least the free tier, and then we can, all work together and like continue growing this channel. Like I still strongly believe in the channel, and I think it's something worth continuing. And I think we really got something going here, and we've grown in so many different ways, and I want to keep it going, and I want to have a sustainable way forward that, I don't feel so uncertain about just, being able to afford all of this stuff, and then I can funnel that money back into the channel. I can finally upgrade my camera. My camera is like, I don't even know, like 7-8 years old now. It's still great, but it's like all of these things like cost money, unfortunately, in this late stage capitalist world. So, I know things get weird when it's like about money and it all just seems like a giant ad, and like in a way it kind of is, but I just hope that like, you feel the heart of it. It's like, I don't run ads on my videos. I've gotten reached out to run ads from various companies and organizations, but I would love to continue not running ads. I would love for the channel to be supported by all of you, by these guys, the current patrons out there supporting the channel who have signed up since it was launched. And you'll be credited too, as long as you are, a backer of this channel. And that's just my little way of saying thank you. So yeah, that's the whole thing about the Patreon. And, I just want to quickly again say thank you to everybody out there who has supported the channel financially or otherwise. Thank you to all of my long-term friends and family and connections I've made, and everybody in the Discord and everybody that's followed on Instagram. Thank you guys so much. This is a very slow and steady growth kind of channel because, I don't go for the clickbait. I don't go for the low-hanging fruit. Nothing wrong with that. I'm not hating on people who do that, but that's not my style. It's from the heart. Everything I do is from the heart, and I'm just trying my best out here to create something hopefully meaningful that resonates with people, that gets you to think about, your place in this world, gets you to think about other people, hopefully engages your sense of compassion and empathy, and makes you want to, work as a force for good in this world. We need more good in this world. There's so much not good in this world, I think that's really, at the end of the day, one of the sort of core philosophies of the channel is like, I create things that hopefully inspire others and have inspired me and will hopefully help, more people out there. That's what this whole thing is about. So again, thank you to all of you out there. Thank you for watching all of whatever videos you watch. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for the likes and the comments and the algorithm stuff. Thank you for following on Instagram. Thanks for coming by the Discord. And thank you so much once again for supporting me on Patreon. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I cannot say that enough. It's still like mind-blowing to me that we're at 10K subscribers, that this journey has been going on as long as it has, and that we can continue to make stuff and continue growing. And the productions get more and more crazy and immense and big, but like I feel like we're getting closer and closer and closer to something. It just feels like it, It feels like this is larger. This is like a larger thing. It's like this momentous, machine with these intricate machinations that are slowly grinding and changing and, rolling along. And we're getting there, to where, I don't know exactly, but we're getting there. And that's only because of you guys. So thank you. I think that's pretty much what I had to say this time. About like 2/3 of the way through, my camera died and it was this whole thing. So I hope it still makes sense. I might cut some parts out. I don't know. The one last thing I did want to mention is, of course, we have the Discord. I always mention that. I always talk about that. Consider dropping by. We got a cool, chill group of people there, and I'm always looking to meet more like-minded, creative, and thoughtful individuals. And we have the Grow Together space where you can, talk about whatever you're working on, the struggle of being a human being in this world. It's just a cool place. And looking forward to meeting you and chatting with you over there. But yeah, I think that's finally everything I had to say in this video. I know it's a lot, big yap fest, so hopefully I can kind of trim it down a little so it's not like so long. But ultimately at the end of the day, all I can really say is thank you guys. And it's like crazy that we've come so far, but it still feels like there's so much more to come. And I hope you'll, stick with me along for the ride, because this channel is nothing without all of you. So thank you so much. And I got nothing else. So, as always, thanks for watching. It was great chatting, great catching up with you guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.